Did you know that the indigenous people of Fairfield, the Umpqua, weren't just hunter-gatherers? They began to develop their own agriculture thousands of years before the Europeans even began to arrive. But first, let's talk about the water and the ways in which the indigenous people were able to use that as a resource for their own survival. Where these freshwater rivers would come together with Long Island Sound, we form estuaries, wonderful places where so many living things are. For the indigenous people, this was a gold mine as far as getting food and resources for themselves to live with. Fish, obviously, would be here, but there were also shellfish, birds, crabs, also things like grasses, which could be woven into materials for the indigenous people to use. So this, during the summer, was probably a magnificent place. They would be able to bring up clams. And from those, not only did they have a food source, but they were also able to make this from actually carving the shell, and that would give what is known as wampum. Now, the wampum could be strung together and often was given as a gift, as many indigenous groups that lived much farther inland had no access to the clams. Unfortunately, when the Europeans saw that gift being given, the Europeans construed this wampum as money and believed that they were actually paying one another, which was not the case. The deer would often move inland in the winter. So they too, the Umpqua, would come inland and often come to a space like this, where they would be able to encamp. They would have the natural cover of the rock formations to help protect them, to keep them warm, to keep a wind down, and a place for them to reside over the course of the winter. They would clear these areas using stone axes and controlled burning so that they could grow the three sisters, corn, beans, squash. But other plants such as sunflowers were part of their diet. They weren't necessarily huge areas, maybe a quarter acre or so, maybe a little bit bigger, but they would actually grow and harvest these plants so they didn't just have to scavenge all the time for all their food. Higher up on the top, there are what are known as mortars, areas about 1 foot to 1.5 feet around, 1.5 feet deep, where it's believed that the indigenous people would have actually taken corn and put it in there and crushed it to make samp. So this area is known as samp mortar. And the idea is that they would make the samp and then they could mix it with beans, lima beans, make a succotash that they could eat, and have that for a porridge or other things. And then as the seasons turned, they too would move with it back to the beach. So for thousands of years, the Umpqua, the Sasqua, the Pequannock, the Aspetuck, collectively known as the Pegussets, had lived in this area, with the land moving seasonally, following the deer, living on the coast. This would continue until 1637, when during the Pequot War, one of the final battles of that war is actually fought here in Southport section of Fairfield. That battle is known as the Battle of Monocapic Swamp. During that battle, a gentleman by the name of Roger Ludlow is present, and he sees this area and sees an opportunity for his fellow English settlers to come and live here. We believe that one of the reasons that Roger Ludlow felt it would be a good place to settle was because the indigenous people had already begun clearing small areas for their own agricultural needs. And he saw that as an opportunity that would make the settlement of English settlers here so much easier. And so in 1639, they will come and settle here. and life for the Pogussets will never be the same. If you enjoyed this video, there's plenty more to learn and experience here at the Fairfield Museum. Looking forward to seeing you.